Well, thank you all for that warm welcome. And AK, thank you for your very kind and very, very generous introduction. You know, as leaders, we have opportunities to make decisions. And I think one of the best decisions I've ever made as governor was to appoint AK to the Board of Regents at the University of North Texas. Congratulations, AK. It's great to be with you. I also want to thank another friend of mine, Arun. Thank you for the invitation to be here with you tonight. To the Consul General, Harish, thank you for all the different opportunities that you've provided for us to connect. I mean, there's a reason why you have seen a greater proliferation in the connection between Texas and India. And you're part of that. You're part of the glue behind that. And I think we should all honor you with what you're doing for India and United States relations. And I want to thank you and AK and Arun and others who came to the mansion for the very first celebration of Diwali at the governor's mansion in the state of Texas. But you need to know that it's not like it was just one event that passes away, because now, because of what you provided, it's a permanent part of the governor's mansion. When we celebrated it, they brought in 2 golden lamps for the light that we celebrated. And those golden lamps, my wife and I have dedicated to remain at the governor's mansion in perpetuity. That is part of Texas history now. Well, it is an honor to have America's most important Indian-American Business Association right here in Dallas and Fort Worth area in the state of Texas. Texas is the premier state for doing business because we know one thing, and that is what drives business is not government. Instead, it's the individual entrepreneur. It's because of entrepreneurs like those in the room tonight that Texas has been #1 in the nation for 13 years in a row for exports. We've been ranked #1 in the nation for doing business for 11 years in a row. And now, Texas was just listed as the top state for both foreign and direct investment. The truth is that India and Indian American businesses are a big reason for this success. You heard in part from both the ambassador and your consul general about the exports and imports. Here are the numbers at the statewide level. In Texas, we export about $2 billion a year of products to India, ranking us 4th in the United States. We also import from India into Texas about $4 billion of goods, ranking Texas 4th in the United States. But here's the problem. This is Texas, and 4th is never good enough. We need to be #1 in exports and imports. And to do that, we need to work together. I'm proud of what the ambassador had to say. I'm proud of what the Consul General had to say. Let me tell you, something we have plenty of in the state of Texas, we have a lot of natural gas that we can ship to India as well as other goods and services. So the one thing that we need to do to make sure that Texas does rise to its rightful level of being #1, we need to take that trip to India. But the reality that you all know as well as I do, and that is our relationship is far more than just commerce. It's also culture. The values we share transcend cultures: family, free enterprise, faith, and hard work. These are the values upon which both countries and both cultures have been founded upon. And those are the values that are reflected in some of my friends here tonight. Friends like Renu Couture, the fabulous Chancellor and President of the University of Houston. By the way, the school that happens to have the best college football team in the state of Texas. Congratulations on a very successful season that is still going when you go off to your major bowl. But I will tell people here what I've told you privately, Renu. Please continue the legendary work that you provided for the University of Houston as you have elevated through the stratosphere, making Texas an even better place. Renu speaks to her students, and she has told her students that if you're going to dream, dream big. And as she puts it, if a teenage immigrant girl with no knowledge of English can become president of a major American university, who's to say that you can't achieve what you set out to do? You got it exactly right. You are a model for your students, for Texans, for Americans, and for people across the globe. Thank you, Renu Couture. Now, we are so blessed in this state because we have so many of our universities and schools that are being led by those who are connected with India. The values we share are reflected also in people like Dr. Kabari, the president of the University of Texas at Arlington. We've had a chance to visit, and his vision for what he will transform the University of Texas Arlington into, on top of where it already is nothing short of remarkable. But he too has some powerful words that he shares with his students. He advises them to strive for what others may consider to be impossible. He says, never be scared of stretching beyond your bounds because your abilities are limited only by what you believe are constraints, rightfully pointing out but that we can reach far beyond who we are as individuals, that we will just reach for the stars. Well, that very notion of reaching for unlimited opportunity is what attracts businesses to Texas from around the globe. Businesses relocate here from countries across the world, including countries like California. One of those businesses that moved from California to Texas is run by a friend of mine, Jay Adair, who is the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar international business named Copart. And he explained to me why it was that he moved his business from California to Texas. He said in California, the taxes were just too high. He said the regulations were strangling his business, so it made it impossible for him to be able to expand. And he said the unions had hijacked the state so that it was impossible for him to be able to conduct his businesses there. Well, Jay looked at every state across the entire nation to find the best one to relocate to that would be best for the bottom line of his business. And he chose Texas. But when he got here, that is what was amazing. Because what he found is, yes, he could run his business far more profitably, but when he moved here, he found what everybody in this state already knows. There's something else about Texas that's even more important than the bottom line. And it's one word: And that one word is freedom. In Texas, you will find a sense of freedom that is unlike any other place in the entire world. That freedom has powered the economic success in this state that has elevated Texas to the very economic pinnacle of the United States of America. Texans created more jobs last year than they have in any year in the history of our state. Despite the fall in oil prices this year, Texas continues to remain the land of opportunity. That is because our economy is resilient and diversified. And it's because Texas and Texans know how to overcome tough challenges. Tough challenges is something, AK, that my wife and I had to overcome ourselves. You mentioned that we've been married for 34 years now. In our second year of marriage, we faced a challenge that a lot of couples don't face. One day, she kissed me goodbye and went off to work. And I went out for a jog. And while I was out jogging, a huge oak tree crashed down onto my back, crushing my vertebrae and my spinal cord, and my wife would never, ever see me walking again. Well, then the aftermath of that accident is when I pieced my life back together and went on to become a Supreme Court Justice, the Attorney General of Texas, and now the Governor of Texas. Well, through that process, I learned that our lives aren't defined by our challenges. Instead, we define our lives by the way that we respond to the challenges we face. And I bring that up because that applies to each of you who run a business every single day. You have increasing challenges, challenges to grow your business, challenges to meet a payroll, challenges to navigate a very complex set of regulations and taxes that you must pay. Well, as governor, I focus on policies that will reduce those challenges and make doing business in Texas even more prosperous. That's why in my first session as governor, we cut your taxes by $4 billion. That includes slashing the business franchise tax by 25%, ensuring that you have more money to reinvest in your growing business. We also eliminated occupational fees for about 600,000 Texans, and we fast-tracked the permitting process. Also, to make the infrastructure in Texas the best infrastructure of any state in the nation, we are investing between $40 to $50 billion over the next decade to build more roads without raising a single penny in taxes, fees, debt, or tolls. We will get Texas moving again. Turned out to be true, that ad that I ran that some of you may have seen, that was filmed right here in downtown Dallas, Texas, showing that a guy sometimes in a wheelchair can move faster than traffic stuck here in the state of Texas. Let me mention one more thing that we are doing. We are working to create the premier education system in the United States of America. Texas, just in the last couple of weeks, was recognized as having more public schools than any state in the nation that were counted in the top 100 schools in this nation, including being home to the #1 public school in the United States of America right here in Dallas, Texas. But we're not satisfied with just that. So we're doing more to build the skilled workforce that you need to grow your businesses. Let me share with you a couple of stories along those lines. One, a couple of months ago, I was at a ribbon-cutting ceremony for one of these massive Amazon fulfillment centers in a suburb just north of San Antonio. These centers are the size of 59 football fields. Despite that size, they employ only 500 people. The reason is because all the operations are conducted robotically, and that way they can use people more efficiently. Well, when the executives from Seattle who were in town for the ribbon cutting ceremony, when I got to visit with them about why it was they were opening so many of these locations in the state of Texas, I thought I knew what the answer was going to be. I thought they were going to tell me, well, Governor, it's because your taxes are lower. Your regulations are less stringent than they are over on the West Coast. It wasn't that. Immediately, the executive came back with an answer that I wasn't expecting. He said it's because of the top quality workforce that you have in the state of Texas. And it struck me because I realized the way that companies from across the country appreciate the quality of workforce that we have here, but I knew from hearing from other sources that we simply did not have enough of those top quality workers. And so that leads to the second story. Now understand that for the University of Houston, for the University of Texas at Arlington, for University of North Texas, for so many programs, the right pathway for a student is getting a 4-year degree or maybe going on and getting a master's or a doctorate or becoming a MD or a lawyer or whatever the pathway may be. But we also need to understand one size does not fit all, either at early education or at higher education. And that's why we work to achieve great programs and success with 2-year degrees and certificates that train students for the jobs that are desperately needed to be filled right now. And I got to meet one of the great successes in that regard, a young man named Justin Friend. He got a 2-year certificate in welding from Texas State Technical College. His first year on the job was 2013, and he made $130,000. His second year on the job was last year, and he made $140,000. So I'm thinking, man, if this governor thing doesn't work out, I'm going to TSTC and getting a degree in welding. Make some real money. But it shows the opportunities that exist across the board in education. But as Renew knows and as the president of UT Arlington knows, I have a greater vision and bigger dreams about making Texas the home of innovation for the future. And that is why I created the Governor's University Research Initiative that will attract the best and brightest researchers from across the United States of America and bring them to our colleges and universities right here in the Lone Star State. This is going to be a way in which we create the greatest research and thought centers in the globe, where we are able to tie in those researchers not just with attracting the best and brightest students to your universities, but also where they are able to work in conjunction with the private sector, creating innovation zones in Dallas and Fort Worth and Houston and San Antonio and Austin and El Paso and across the state of Texas. Well, the bottom line is that we are doing all of these things and so much more with one goal in mind. We want to ensure that Texas remains the best state in the United States to start and grow a business. To do that, I want you to know, we want you to succeed. We need you to succeed. Because when you succeed, Texas and America succeeds. Thank you so much. God bless you all, and God bless America.